Hi, Eliza. You made it.
I made it. I'm so excited.
Oh, that's great. Good. Okay. Well, let's get started, and we'll um, move as efficiently as we can. Let me establish a quorum and take the roll of everybody who's here. Commissioner Ahmad.
Here.
We'll come back to Commissioner DeVere as he's in IT limbo. Commissioner Fan.
Present.
Commissioner and Vice Chair Hall.
Here.
Acting Commissioner Pellegrini.
Here.
Acting Commissioner James. Gotcha. Good morning. Can we hear you? Can you hear us? Commissioner James?
I can hear you now.
Great. Thank you. And Commissioner Johnson?
Present.
So the call to order establishes we have a quorum. And okay, great. Thank you. Seeing stuff in the chat. Can we have for those who are joining new, we generally have taken the minutes by video and sought approval of the minutes for the previous meeting by voice vote on the recording, approving the recording. Do I have a motion and a second on approving the meeting from September 10 to approve the minutes?
Motion to approve the minutes.
Commissioner Ahmad, any second?
Second.
Thank you. Minutes are approved. In your packet of information, there are a couple of pieces of communications that we'll refer to during the meeting. If I may, because of her timing and because she's actually technically on vacation, so we want to say thanks even more so to Dr. Eliza Warren, who's going to share, and I think the timing of this is good, to share a bit about the Missouri Commission on Human Rights, because it is an agency with whom I have enjoyed working over, 25 years. And I think it would be a good idea for us to consider with Dr. Warren how we might work in partnership. So if I may just briefly, she's been the executive director of the Missouri Commission on Human Rights since January of 2008. And their concentration clearly to prevent and eliminate and marginalize discrimination in employment, housing, and public accommodations. She has a variety of professional posts: Director of Diversity Initiatives for the University of Missouri, in the College of Engineering, Executive Director for the Missouri Community Service Commission, Director of the Office of Equal Opportunity, the State of Missouri Supplier Diversity Program, and a number of others. She holds a Bachelor in Science and a Master of Public Administration and a PhD in Applied Social Science in the area of Community Development and Social Disparities, all from our Fair Home campus at the University of Missouri at Columbia. There's much more to read of her bio, but in the interest of time, I asked Dr. Warren if she would to share a bit about the commission and just give us an intro so that we can consider later on down the road how we might effectively partner together. So Eliza, thanks for giving us the time. Oh, you're muted. You're muted.
Hate when I do that. Okay, can you hear me now? Great. Well, thank you so much, Karen, for the introduction and the invitation. Karen invited me. I told her, oh, I'm taking vacation that day, but for you and for the St. Louis County Commission, Human Rights Commission, I will hold off till this afternoon. So I'm really happy to be here and with one of my with our fellow agencies. So thank you so much. And I see some good friends on the commission as well. So it's so good to reconnect with some of you. And just quickly, for a few moments, I know you have a couple of things on your agenda, so I will be brief. But as Karen mentioned, we've been around since 1957, and Karen has worked with us for 25 years. I've been around for almost 14 years. And our mission is really to enforce the Missouri Human Rights Act and prevent discrimination through education and outreach. You can find our statute under the Missouri Revised Statute 213 if you're interested in reading more about that. We have 11 commissioners on our commission that are appointed by the governor, confirmed by the Senate, and they serve 6-year terms. There is no salary; they're voluntary, and we do reimburse for expenses in that. We don't have a full commission right now. We're at about 8, so we need 3 more. But there we have a wide variety of folks that are very dedicated to human rights. So it's been a pleasure really to work in this field. We have right now, staffing wise, 24 staff members, which is really down. We have diminished over the years. We had over 50 some years ago, and now we're down to less than half of that through budgetary cuts and that sort of thing. So it's just kind of the nature of reality that we're living in, and so we're doing what we can with the staffing that we have. Our central office is in Jefferson City, although I'm here in St. Louis in the Wainwright Building downtown in St. Louis. And we have a Kansas City office and a Sikeston office down in the Boot Hill as well. So as I mentioned too, the enforcement piece is, a big chunk of what we do, enforcing the Human Rights Act. And I looked up some stats. I thought, well, I don't want to bury you with a bunch of data today. I'm hoping we'll get to continue to work together and kind of dig a little deeper. But just for the most recent stats I could come up with was our employment. Most of our cases are employment discrimination cases, and we partner with the EEOC. We actually contract with the EEOC, so it's a dually filed situation. So if you file with the State of Missouri Human Rights Commission, it's dually filed with the U.S. Department of Equal Opportunity Commission, and reverse that as well. So about 1,250 cases in our 2020 fiscal year, or 90% of our cases were employment-based discrimination cases, followed by public accommodations cases, which was 120 cases, and just under 9% of our caseload. And then a very deep drop in our housing discrimination cases after our law changed in 2017. Some of you may remember that there was a long push to make changes to the law, which finally happened and ultimately caused the state of Missouri to fall out of favor, I guess, if you will, with HUD, which is who we contracted with there. So we're down to only just over 1% of our cases are housing cases, or 15 cases, where we used to do closer to 200 in housing, but we're not substantially equivalent to the federal law. And so most people then take their housing complaints to HUD. We would hope that one day that will reverse, but there have been many attempts to do that, but not the will to make those changes. So as it stands right now, we do have housing protections in the Missouri state law, but they are not, they don't rise to the level of what the protections are with the federal law. So we see very few people coming to us for housing protections, unfortunately. And then finally, too, we provide mediation services at no charge for the parties, and that we had in 2020 about $2.5 million in settlements, which is a great service for both parties to find a win-win situation for the individuals involved in that. So that's one way to be impactful. Also, too, if you're interested in the breakdown of the classification on the types of cases that we see, I pulled those numbers as well. And this number is staggering to me. I've seen it go up exponentially every year. But retaliation claims are now 63.5% of our cases. That is astronomical. I mean, I've never seen anything like it, but it's been true for EEOC as well. I think nationwide as well. So that's our number one claim, is retaliation. And then followed with sex discrimination complaints at 42%, disability at 39%, race really holds steady at 30% of our complaints, and age at 24%, national origin at 5%, and religion at 2.7%. Now I will say we are anticipating a pretty sizable jump in religion because of COVID and the mask mandates. And we're thinking we're starting to see it already where people are claiming a religious exemption, and we're seeing more and more complaints in that regard. So, and you may see that as well. So it'll be an interesting shift in that. Let's see. So that is really just in a nutshell, the enforcement piece of things. And I wanted to talk briefly about the other half of our mission, which is the prevention piece, or the education and outreach, which is, one of the favorite areas that I like to dig into. And we've worked with thousands and thousands, over 50,000 over our history, individuals and organizations to really help them understand what their rights and responsibilities are under the law. And so we work with local commissions like yours whenever it's possible. And we also provide commission training. So if you find that you have new commissioners, or even if your existing commissioners are interested in wanting to take a deeper dive into the Missouri Human Rights Act or that sort of thing, we're happy to come out and do that. I think the last one I did, and it's in Dwayne's neck of the woods, was with the Ferguson Human Rights Commission back in April. I met with them, and we have a long history of working with them as well. And so we really do like to make those connections and help support your mission and provide whatever information we can to help you, because you're really the front line. People come to you with your complaints, and then what do you do with that? So if we can just download information to you and give you the tools you need, even if it's to make referrals, if you can refer them to us, or if you can do some internal types of work with them, then that's great too. But we can help give you the tools to do that. One of our most popular trainings still is diversity and inclusion, followed closely by implicit bias or microaggressions or bystander intervention. We can do work on the employment discrimination law, or even investigating discrimination complaints. Let's see, I've got a whole long list here of the ones that we do. Disability awareness. Sexual harassment prevention is still a very, very popular one that we do very frequently. So let us know if there are groups within county government or that could benefit from having that training. We're happy to come out and do that. And we try to tailor those trainings to the organizations depending on what the issues are within that community. So it's not just a canned deal. We come out and really work with them to make sure that we touch upon those topics. Let's see. I mentioned the other local human rights commissions around the state. At last count, there are about 14 of those. Over the years, I've gotten to work with all of them in some way, shape, or form, others more frequently than some. But I was really glad that Karen reached out to me again so that we can sort of rejuvenate our relationship with whatever we can do to help support your efforts, and in turn to strengthen human rights in our region. We're willing to do, we want to do, and we're excited about it. We can provide you also with some resources in terms of community outreach, as I mentioned, but if you need speakers for events or trainers, we can also, again, I talked about referrals. We have brochures and information, posters, that sort of thing, literature that if you need, we can provide you those at no charge. And then finally, I have to make a shameless plug for our conference. It's coming up on December 10th. It is the Missouri Human Rights Conference. And I want to say we are, I think, getting close to 10 years. We had a hiatus for a couple of years when we lost our funding, and we were doing some things differently. So I think we're getting close to 9 or 10 years of doing this. But last year we went virtual, obviously because of COVID, and where we had normally had around 200 participants, we had well over 800 virtually. And so the virtual format has really helped us be able to reach more people. So we even took a vote of our participants, and over 75% preferred the virtual format. So we're probably going to stick with that so that we can reach more people. It is free. And so you can, as soon as we get the save the date information together, and we're working on that now, I can shoot that to Karen to disseminate to you, and you can distribute with that throughout your communities. The topics that we're going to plan on covering this year are COVID-19 and discrimination, employment discrimination, which will be very, very interesting. The elimination of bias in the legal profession. We have a lot of lawyers that come to our conference and like to get, free CLE credits so they can get their ethics credits there. And then also education discrimination. So it will be an interesting 4 hours. I think it's from 10 to, well, it might be longer than 4 hours. I believe it's 10 to 4 with the break in there. 10 to maybe 10 to 3. But again, it's a really great day. We'd love to have you come. And so also get that information, registration information out to you as soon as it's available. What questions do you have for me? Anything that I can help you with now? Or this was just really kind of dipping our toe in and just talking a little bit about what we're about, what we can do, and how we might be able to partner. If you have events or activities going on or issues of concern, trainings that you might want to do, just let me know. Reach out, and we're happy to do that.
Do any of the commissioners have any questions? Not all.
I do actually. So Sal Valadez and I are putting together a Know Your Rights panel, and
Yes.
so I guess
Carolyn?
yes, I'll be in touch with you
Okay.
offline. But I think one thing to kind of flag for your agency is the federal funding that is flowing to state and local governments. I think there might be some Title VI questions around language access or lack thereof.
Yeah.
Okay. Very good. Reach out to me, Carolyn. You have my number. I would love to talk to you more about that.
Well, when you're back from vacation.
Well, it's not going to be extended. It's only till Monday. So I'll be back on Tuesday.
The language access piece has actually been an ongoing issue. I don't know how often you confront it, but it has been, and certainly with the events of COVID and any of the sort of the hotline access, whether it's 311, 211, whatever, often what we found and what Caroline and I think Sal Valadez from the Labor's Council had been working on is just sort of heading that up. And I guess it was last month, the FBI and the Justice Department announced a new outreach effort in social media and billboards and all sorts of different places on getting folks to be more willing to report hate crime and bias incidents. And we haven't, and Sal raised the issue then of, are they only doing it in English? And so we actually don't know the answer yet to how many different languages that campaign is going to be translated into. So it's something that has been an ongoing concern. So FYI.
Right. I hear you.
And
I'm
just curious, so do your commissioners tend to be geographic around the state, or do they tend to represent unique advocacy perspectives?
No, they are geographic, and they go through their elected official, through their senator, and to the governor. We have, the political makeup of that is the party in power is in control. So 6 would be Republican, 5 would be Democrat. So we have our new chair is from Kansas City, and that he came in June. So it is geographic by congressional district and not necessarily by interest area. And they're all types of people. I mean, from educators to police officers to architects to lawyers to you name it. All types of people who have an affinity and passion for human rights. So
I would I don't know what the makeup is like, but as you probably know, the changing demographics of the state, the most recent census, right? I think something like 1 in 10 or 1 in 11 of every Missourian now is either AAPI or Hispanic or Latino. So I think that's something to take into consideration.
Absolutely. And it's interesting. I have little authority with that. I just get the names from the governor's boards and commissions office. Right now we have, I think it is 3 Asian commissioners, 1 African-American, and 3 white, I believe is the makeup. It's Yeah, I would like to see more honestly, I would like to see more diversity on our commission. We're lacking in that area. So I think that it's not that people aren't interested either. That the last I've checked, there was a list of over 30 people that had applied, but there are nearly 500 boards and commissions in the state. And so for them to get those seats filled takes a lot of time. I've even gone to the effort of putting together a booklet of individuals who've expressed interest to me, and looking at diversity, looking at their interest area, looking at their expertise. I've had subject matter experts on housing that I thought that wanted to be on. I'm like, oh, let's take this name, let's move this forward, and I hear crickets. So it's a little frustrating in that I really don't have the ability to do that, but possibly external folks like maybe yourself could look to do that, because we need some more diversity. We do. I think religious diversity. I think there's a lot of ways that we could shake up our commission. It would be very welcome.
And I'm just curious, do your policy efforts then or priorities get driven by the legislative session and how issues might come up in the context of, what happens around between January and May? Or
well, not particularly. There are our policies. We do focus on, well, I shouldn't say that. This commission has made an effort to put out statements on, say, Asian and Jewish hate or xenophobia, against that. I think 2 summers ago, they put out something on racial equity. And so they're putting out statements more broadly than they used to. And it may or may not always align with what is going on at the Capitol, but because we are an independent commission, so
right.
The commissioners kind of drive that and make those decisions.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Any other questions or thoughts? Okay. Yay. Thank
Actually,
you.
one quick question.
Yeah,
Ms.
Kenny,
Warren.
go ahead.
Hi, Kenny Murdoch. I'm the Director of Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion for St. Louis County. I heard you talk about the upgrade and retaliation statistics. Did that happen recently, or is that a new trend? Tell me a little bit more about that if you can.
It has been steadily increasing for years now. And every year I'm so surprised. I'm like, oh, it's almost 40%. Oh, look at that. It's 45. Wow, it's over 50. It has been creeping up every single year. And I'm not sure exactly why that is happening. But it is consistent around the country too, whether it's that people want to throw that in with everything else, like with the kitchen sink. Well, it was race and it was age and it was my disability. Oh, and by the way, I was retaliated against too. It seems to be just gaining a foothold and has overtaken every other class of discrimination.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. It's incredible that it's 63%. I mean,
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
I think one of the things, if I may, from the legal side, is that employers, in fact, do retaliate against people once they make claims or raise issues. I think you see in a similar way, the whistleblower cases have also really expanded significantly. And frankly, for plaintiffs in civil rights cases, when the barriers are high because the standards are so high, a lot of people may not meet the standard for a fill in the blank, a race, a disability, a gender case, but they can make a retaliation claim a lot easier. And so I think that's where employers often get tripped up, is that they might actually succeed in defending against the underlying protection issue, but they mess with the employee, and that's against the law also. So they get nailed on that, and they shouldn't do that. And I think, frankly, if they continue to do that, they're going to continue to be held accountable for it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it is definitely, it's increased and it has happened, so it's out there. That's a great question, Ken. Thank you.
All right. Well, thank you again. Appreciate it. Enjoy the long weekend, and
Yes.
We'll follow up and be in touch and look forward to December 10th and spreading the word on that.
Absolutely. I'll think of you guys while I'm dipping my feet in the pool this weekend. Well, it's 90 degrees. It might be our last warm weekend, okay? So out there.
Hold on to that as long as you can. Thanks.
Exactly. Snow will be flying next week, probably.
Oh, yeah. All right. Thanks, Elisa. We'll talk soon.
Thank you. Be well, everyone. Thank you so much.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Okay, thanks very much. Item 4.2 takes us to the item noted in the agenda as 3.1. It was an article, and I want to thank a number of people for passing this on. Once again, St. Louis County Police Academy. Let me just turn this over for a moment to thoughts from our vice chair, Officer Hall, for a kind of an on the scene thinking about what's going on there. Just so you know, I wrote to Captain Kelly and I said, what? More or less. I have not heard back from him yet. So, Shanette, if you would share with us your thoughts on this, much appreciated.
Sure. And so, good morning to everyone, and I apologize about my video being off. I'm actually at work. So, I mean, I think it's pretty much no secret, and speaking from, and I would have to say this even because it is still public, but speaking as a commissioner, I think it's no secret that St. Louis County Police Department has struggled with issues of racism and sexism and so many other isms for a very long time, and they have not been addressed by a number of different people, whether they are in the department or outside of the department. The police academy is no different. I think that the fact that more people are not extremely worried and almost even terrified by what's happening is there is no way that we can attempt to begin to even change the culture if we are breeding, if you will, for lack of better terms, but breeding the culture within the police academy where people are babies, they're guppies, they're learning how to do a number of different things, they're learning how to be police officers. So if in that infancy stage or in that era they are being subjected to such derogatory terms and hateful terms and actions and a number of different things, we have to be very realistic and not even expect anything different within the culture of what we're seeing right now. But yeah, it's been going on. It hasn't been addressed by anyone internally. When I say anyone, I really mean anyone, whether they are current employees or past employees. So.
Here's what I'd like to, first of all, I'd love to hear thoughts from anybody around the table who may have experience with the academy from anywhere where they sit. But here's my proposal, and I'd like to get some thinking on it. I suppose I have to entertain at some point a formal motion, but we have the ability to seek some information on this. I'd like to understand the process by which St. Louis County Police Academy hires contracts with either independent contractors or people already within St. Louis County government to come on board. And I say this having been an independent, unpaid contractor who has been training at the academy for the last 20 years. And just don't get it why sort of the incident that happened, I guess it was a year ago, with a woman who was dismissed under Chief Barton's tenure, why this is now happening again. So what are the policies in place? I'd love to hear from y'all about any thoughts you have about other things we might ask for as we gather information to try and sort of get at this from a more formal place.
This is Dwayne. I just would like to ask, I mean, the article talks about the process for selecting outside officers, how they're going to reevaluate that. I just think that it would be good if we could actually be a part of that review process of how they actually are going to reevaluate that to ensure that we at least have our thoughts and buy-in suggestions in that as well.
Got it. Thank you.
So just to kind of explain the process a little bit. So 100-foot view and down. So the police academy is called the CMPA, which is the County and Municipal Police Academy. There are a board of managers that are at the police academy, which consist of employees from like the St. Louis County department, if you will, whether they're commissioners or captains or colonels, the chief, what have you. And then the remaining people on the board are chiefs from other police departments that pay in, if you will, to the academy. So like the chief of Moline Acres is on the board. The chief of Florissant was once on the board, and it kind of just changes out. So the board of managers at the police academy is supposed to oversee the contracts of the people that come in and kind of approve the paying of the contract, so forth and so on. There are two funding streams that go into the police academy that allows it to run the way that it is. The one comes from St. Louis County government. It's called the like Academy Trust Fund or something of that nature. And then a separate fund, if you will, is it comes from all of the municipalities, all of the muni police departments that pay into the academy. So it's almost like a membership fee. If a municipality pays into it, then they can just send their officers whenever they want. So those are the two funding streams, and that's what is pulled from within those areas to say, hey, this is who we want to come in. The daily director that kind of oversees everything that goes on the academy daily is always the captain, a St. Louis County captain, and that's who you emailed, Karen. And so that is the person who has like the most hands-on of the daily operations at the police academy. And so when they're approving people, they're just going out. A lot of times, let's just be honest and keep it funky, and hello to the new people. That's just how Shanette is. But a lot of times we look at things and we see what's on paper and we're like, oh, this is somebody to talk about inclusion. This sounds good. Let me just bring this person in. Oh, we hear those key phrases and then we just get people in. And it appears as if we're not doing as much research as possible to say, how is this person going to be very good? We fail all the time. Try to translate intent from impact. And so our intents could be to have some good training, diversified training, but the impacts are what we are seeing in such things as the articles that have come out. So just to kind of understand the process, if you will, hopefully that's helpful if you're like, hey, maybe we should try to do this.
So we should, just to be as broad as possible, we should write to Captain Kelly, but we should also write to the Board of Managers.
And so the St. Louis County Police Academy, they have their own website. And so you'll be able to see who is on the board of managers. I think it's about 7 people that's on there, but it'll list them all out. You'll see their picture and everything. 4 of them are always reserved for St. Louis County.
Okay. Well, and after every course, it's true that participants, whether they're in the academy or continuing ed settings, do an evaluation of the presenter. But I don't know, other than, for instance, in my case, being asked to continue to teach, I don't know if anybody ever said anything like, this is crap, excuse me, she isn't doing this right, she needs to do this. But like, nobody ever said to me, this is the feedback we got, can you do something different or whatever? Nobody ever said that to me.
And that kind of goes into the culture of a lot of times of who are the people that are doing your evaluations. They're majority officers. Officers halfway don't like going to training anyway because they feel as if it's forced up on them. And so they go and kind of just check the box and say, this is good, this is fine, just to get out the class and get to 4 or 4:30.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Written very lengthy evaluations on a number of different people every single class I go to. I was actually just at the academy the day before yesterday. So I write very lengthy evaluations and express how something has either failed miserably or was extremely impactful. So.
Got you. Yeah, the whole process could use a rewrite. Okay. Anything else I'm not thinking of that should be included in this letter and request? I'll tell you what, I'll draft like we have done in the past. I'll send it to everybody. You send me back your thoughts. We'll finalize over time and we'll get a formal okay to send it out. Do I need I guess I need a motion, Jay? Do I need a motion to approve sending a letter?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Motion to send a letter.
Thank you, Commissioner Fan. Anybody second?
I second it as well.
Thanks, Commissioner Ahmad. Okay, I'll get on that Monday. Thank you all. Any other thoughts before we move away from that?
I actually have a question. I don't understand how county vendors or whatever are selected. And I'll give an example, right? I was looking to do something in a park, and then I realized that county has a very set list of food trucks. And this is just a very minor example, but they have a set list of food trucks and caterers who are approved. Um, and I think there was only maybe one Asian American vendor. I'm not sure. I feel like folks who want to get married, who want to have picnics, who want to have whatever, um, it might be nice to have a broader range. And that's just me speaking out of, as everyone knows, I have quite the stomach interest in these things.
Yeah, watching your tweets makes me hungry, I'm telling you. Hey, Kenny, let me turn this over to you in terms of issues around supplier diversity and contracting and procurement. Who are the people to talk to raise an issue about what might be going on there, and what's the intentionality around that?
I could contact Vetta Jeffries, who really handles minority and women business contracting and has an understanding of the contracting side and I could also contract people in procurement if you want to talk to those two departments or have them come to one of our meetings. I'm sure
Why don't we do that? Why don't we invite them to the November 5 meeting, I think, and ask them to tell us everything that they can tell us about everything.
Yeah, I'm sure they'd be happy to clarify their task and role and how it interacts with contracting, and they're the experts on it. So, yeah.
Okay, and if they would share statistics also on just how the numbers play out from a perspective of difference and inclusion, that would be really helpful.
Yeah, and also what is required to become a food truck vendor or a caterer. So for example, I pulled together an event, the first ever Asia Pacific American History Month celebration at St. Louis City Hall, right? So I was able to work with special events, and they said that whatever, they actually gave me an allowance to go off because they had no Asian American caterers on their list, but they said, the restaurant or whatever has to carry like $1 million or whatever worth of insurance. And so I found one that did, and of course they knew it because it is tied to J International Market and whatnot.
Nice.
So I just, I feel like if one county wants to increase revenue, via parks, via any facilities, it is important to also diversify the vendor list because, to be quite honest, I was not interested in the vast majority of the existing list. Thank you.
Well, and that's a classic structural racism barrier. If you put up $1 million, who does that automatically push out in terms of people who are small business folks who are just getting started? So that's something to look at in terms of its relationship and relevance to insurance protections generally. Okay, need anything more on that, Kenny?
Yeah, I just want to say I'll reach out to both Peter Jeffries and procurement, and I think they can describe what a vendor is. I'm not sure if they're directly in charge of food trucks. That might be Department of Public Health. Or might be some other things. I think so, but let me shake the tree and see if I can find who might be able to talk more directly about food trucks.
Okay,
'Cause I
very
don't know.
cool.
Food
Thank you.
trucks and approved caterers in
Catering.
the county.
Yeah.
And
Thanks.
approved caterers. All right, I'll take a note.
Thank you. Okay, thanks so much. Let's introduce our new commissioners before we get to our last item. Let me call on, and I'm sorry, I just looked at your bio and I just forgot, Dr. Johnson, to tell us a little bit about yourself and how you decided to apply. And, I apologize. It would be nice at some point to be able to have us all together in a space to have some social time just to get to know each other. And I'd like to say that's coming. I'm not sure exactly when, but Jacinda, if you would share a little bit about yourself, that would be very lovely. Thank you.
Hi, good morning. Thanks so much, Karen. So it's such a pleasure to be able to serve. I, as you've mentioned, had applied because of such an interest. First of all, I've spent 20 years in human resources. And so part of what I do is oversee processes that deal with investigations, employment, hard for me to put my words together now, but I do quite a bit. Anyway, it is definitely a pleasure to serve. And so I'm actually Jacinda Johnson. I go by Cindy, just a little bit easier.
Got it. Thank you.
Definitely looking forward to working together.
Thank you. Hey, Dwayne, you want to share a little?
Can you hear me?
Mhm.
All right. My name is Dwayne T. James. I am the County Engagement Specialist, Urban County Director for University of Missouri Extension, and I also serve as the lead for the Equity, Diversity, and Inclusion work for Extension statewide. I'm an ex-council member for the City of Ferguson, part of a number of nonprofits in the area, in the region, but then I also, as part of my job, work with neighborhood leaders and youth to engage community issues and policy work to fix the inequities that we see. That's just a little bit about me.
And the county in particular? Why this commission?
So I am, let's just say that I am passionate about diversity work, and I'm passionate about human rights and how do we basically overcome inequities that are present to ensure that people just but actually deal with the actions associated with this. And so looking at trying to volunteer is exactly what I can do to support. This is the one that basically hit me closely, just based off of my experience and based off of my passions. So.
Thank you, much appreciate that. And Ekin, good morning. Can you share a little bit about yourself? Say hello.
Oh, sorry, I was having audio problems. I apologize for not having my camera on. I'm at work as well, and it's a little busy where I am right now. But if you want to add me on LinkedIn, I'm just sharing my LinkedIn side. Yeah, so I'm another University of Missouri employee, like Dwayne. I work at the College of Business Administration. I am their liaison with executives. So I am the founding director of our doctorate in business administration program for executives, and I oversee executive educations at companies as well. I'm originally from the Middle East. I am from Turkey, and I moved here to St. Louis 15 years ago for my graduate, well, first for my graduate education. And yeah, so I have 2 children, ages 13 and 16. And that's about it, I guess.
And so you're busy. Well, thank you. It's nice to see you and look forward to actually seeing you in person at some point.
Thank you.
Let me just share real quick, just so you know where I'm coming from. Because there's a lot of mystery about this particular commission, and I think that's fair. We have been a bit mysterious, but the fact that you're participating and that there are now 8 out of 11 spots filled. I'm glad to say that through the leadership of Councilwoman Clancy, bill number 88 was unanimously approved. Note that, by the way, unanimously approved by the council. So we are moving from initially 9 under the charter to 11. So we have 3 spots still open. I know there are some pending applications, but we're looking to fill those 11 as quickly as possible. I have actually been on this commission for good or for not since 2001. And I will be candid, between 2001 and probably the last 18 months, we really didn't do a lot as a commission. We were not, it's not that we weren't empowered. I think nobody really cared and paid attention, and our leadership was not quite as much of a nudge as I am. Can I say that and be self-serving at the same time? Sure I can, because I am. What the heck? I've been very frustrated for that for a long time. So I'd like to thank the county executive and members of the council who are paying attention to the fact that this commission does exist. I think we are ramping up and staffing up with the assistance of Mr. Murdoch and Ms. Person and other folks in the county to give this group some teeth. The original charter language is actually not bad if you've looked at it in terms of what it allows us to do. I think the challenge over the years has been essentially there's no budget, and so the resources to get accomplished what we need to do, considering that everybody also works full time, has been part of the challenge. I see that shifting. The issues are there to be dealt with, and there's got to be responsibility and accountability within the county to do that. The thing that is pending on that language, by the way, and if you've looked at the language, you know it kind of sounds like the 1960s. That's because it is. It's not gender inclusive, and it's not legally inclusive of all the protected categories that exist now. And so we've proposed language to amend that. And I think it's really Ms. Clancy and some others who are looking to put that proposal along with a very broad approach to amending and upgrading all of the county's language when it comes to more inclusive and modern approaches to these human relations and human rights issues. So I think that's going to be coming. But meanwhile, I'm going to pretend as if the language is inclusive and allows us to move forward on some of these other protected categories that aren't specifically noted. And I appreciate Dr. Warren's engagement. I think we have to expand through all of these different voices now at the table. We represent different constituencies. We have different organizations we can outreach to, different people we can pull in, and we can start being a whole lot more vocal as a group. And so let me tack on real quickly to the item under the letter to the county executive and county council. I'm going to sign a transfer. Sounds good. No worries. Thanks, Dwayne. The events of July 27th, the council meeting that involved a very serious set of facts that came up around the appearance of Dr. Faisal Khan from the Department of Public Health, kind of really tweaked us as a group for those folks who are new to this conversation. And we wrote a letter, which we sent in the beginning of August to the council, basically expressing our disappointment. Tuesday evening at the committee of the whole, Councilwoman Clancy raised the letter, which it turns out everybody had seen. Nobody just said anything about it. But she basically said, well, what are we going to do about it? And the one that came up in conversation that I thought was kind of fascinating was the third piece, which is that we wanted to be part of driving an approach to reconciliation and team building among the members of the council and the county executive, and probably their executive staffs, although we didn't say that in the letter, because it seemed like things had gotten so bad in terms of their personal relationships that it was impacting their ability to relate to each other professionally, even while they could stand by their own political priorities. Because I think in the long run, the message that I'd like to get across is that you can stand by your political priorities and still work respectfully and in collaboration with somebody who may think differently than you to try to get to the best middle ground to serve all the residents of St. Louis County. And it seemed that that just had flown out the window. Nobody really cared. So we now have an opportunity to follow up that conversation from the committee of the whole Tuesday night. And so I'd like to just brainstorm for a little bit with y'all what that might look like. Chairwoman Days mentioned something about, were we talking about diversity, equity, inclusion education or training for the entire county government? I wasn't thinking that, and I don't think we were thinking that at all with our letter. Initially, we were more worried about the council and the county executive and the sort of the small family and their impact both within for each other, within and as it related externally. I don't think the county's in a position, and I'm stepping on Mr. Murdoch's toes right now, but from where I sit, I don't think the county's in a position to educate all its staff. I also don't use the word training, I don't want them to think they can do that the county can do a sort of set of one-offs or, one program and say, we're done. For a long time, it's been the long game, and what has to happen within the county government has to be something many layered, and effective over the long term, not just a response to conflict in community. So I don't think that's approachable right now, because one of the things I heard Chairwoman Days say was there's no budget. Well, if there's no budget for bringing people in to do the work, that doesn't really evidence a huge amount of support for doing it properly. So that's the long introduction to gathering thoughts about how we might, at least following our letter on a smaller level, find folks in the community, and maybe if we need to go raise the money to do it, I'm inclined to do that, who would provide some sort of reconciliation, restorative team building approaches for the county council, the executive, and maybe their executive staff. And now I'll be quiet.
I am heartened to see any movement on the letter. I think it's amazing that Chairwoman Days wants to open it up to all of county government staff. I don't know how many people that is. Kenny might be able to provide us with that number. I think if we can maybe just commit to starting with county council and their executive staff, that would be a good start. But I by no means think that, if that goes well, that we should limit ourselves to that, because I do think that even I have had encounters, and other people I know have had encounters, both with government staff, government contractors, where there is a complete lack of understanding, I think is a Midwest tactful way of putting it, of different communities, particularly limited English proficient communities. I don't understand why there's no funding for this, because in the recovery funds, right, there is and should be something like, I don't know, 170 is the number that sticks in my head, million. Additionally, I want to be forthright and say that I had a conversation with folks at the White House about the issue of language access and lack thereof. So some of the issues that have been brought to my attention around various federal agencies, local and state agencies, I have shared those concerns with my friends, and I think hopefully in the future, some of the federal agencies' RFPs may require something around language access, because I think that folks here are just tired of being ignored. I'll say that for myself. Thanks.
Thank you, Caroline. Anybody else?
Well, I'll jump in then for something to say. As far as the total number of county employees, I don't know that off the top of my head, but as far as the strategy to give some equity, diversity, inclusion training to county, we started with the strategy of starting with the county executives team, and then building out to the administration, and then kind of going by department to department. And we're in the process of doing full training for everyone in the Department of Administration. We've started those conversations, and we're just organize that. So there is a plan to get exposure to everyone to bias management, diversity, identity, and cultural communication training, and just understanding education.
Can you give some specifics, Kenny? What are the hours and commitments that are being made?
Well, that's what we're trying to organize. So we do have to commit with administration to have a full bias management program that deals with different identities and things like that. We're just trying to get the timetable and charts down together right now. So we have a commitment from administration. As far as from the executive, we've been doing a lunch and learn every Thursday from noon to 1 for some time now, for a few months now. And that's specifically on identity, awareness, understanding, and diversity kind of issues.
Who attends?
Different people, different time, but usually about 7 to 12 people every now and then. And we've been doing this for, see, how long would you say we've been doing the lunch and learn for executive team? Probably
December.
since December.
Yeah, yeah.
Have any of the members of the council or their executive staffs come?
No, this has not been for the county council. This has just been for the executive staff. So we're more than willing to do, and we have the resources of Lincoln Learning to do certain trainings like that for the county council. We just want to come with everyone united front. And we do believe the county council could benefit from some understanding of diversity issues and communication issues and cultural competency communication.
My issue was even less on the bias piece necessarily, and more on the, y'all just got to get along better and treat each other more nicely, and show leadership that way. Because the public facing piece of what happened in July and August was not pretty.
Well, if I can be just kind of candid, I think there is some actual sexism that the council itself would need to talk about because of the role of Chairman Rita Davis and how some people have said certain things or reacted certain ways. I'm not sure we would react in the same way if a woman was in that role. And I think that's something that we have to call out and say, have you adjusted because it's a woman in your leadership or a woman that you think is that an issue that we need to talk about and not leave off the table?
Got it. Okay. Azra, did you have a comment?
Yeah, I was just wondering who's doing the training. And then, as Karen said, maybe there should be training on civility.
Yeah.
I'd be more than happy to take some of the lead on organizing what the steps in training as soon as we agree on dates and time and what county council members can be there. Or we can tailor a date and we could even do a practice run with ourselves for it and say, is this what, we'd like to present to the county council? But doing a training we could put that together pretty easy. And, I could take the lead as a facilitator if you want, and we could have other people from the commission facilitate that with county council. So getting county council's buy-in, I think, is the first part and maybe the hardest part.
Yeah.
After that, I think we could easily put together something. Go ahead, Jay.
I would note that the county council does plan to write back to the Human Relations Commission in writing as well.
Good, thank you.
Okay. So I would like to add that civility piece, because everything starts with civility, right? How we treat each other, no matter, what race, gender you are, religion. So if you can't be civil, you can't really accomplish much.
Yeah, agreed. Okay, Jay, what are your thoughts? We should wait for the council's response to move forward, or?
No, I think that brainstorming is good, but I think that a lot of the council members are also unsure of what the HRC was asking for. And I think their letter, they are going to try to get some more understanding of what exactly the HRC is asking for, because I do know they also would like to sit down with the chairwoman and Kenny as well to talk through how to move forward as well.
Okay, fair. All right, good. Any other questions or thoughts before we move on to the final item? Okay, equity plan. Once again, on you, Kenny. Although I have to say the last one on housing, I learned a lot, actually. I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah, and I welcome new commissioners. I'm glad to have you here. We've been doing for some time a few sessions called Building Equity in towards the equity plan. Now, what the equity plan is going to be a comprehensive plan on what we need to build equity in St. Louis County and move forward with some tangible action items. But that won't be actually finished, done till next year. So every month in the last Wednesday of the month, we have a public meeting plan on building equity. In October, our next one is October 27th, and it's building equity in education. As a commission member, all of you will be allowed to be panelists on that, and you can Skype in, or not Skype in, but you can either digitally come in, electronically come in, or you could be in person in county council chambers for this meeting. Also, if you want to review some of the old building equity in meetings, you can email me. I put my email in the chat there. It's kmurdoch@stlouiscountymo.gov, and I'll send you the link to the YouTube area where they are. You can view those old county meetings that we had on building equity in. So far, it's been going very good, and I think anybody who who might have good input into building equity in education, make me or Theta aware, and we will contact them and try to have them speak at the Building Equity in Education Forum on the 27th. Each speaker is allowed 5 minutes, and we also accept presentations like PowerPoints and things like that. So I can't stress enough, if you know someone who you think would be a good addition to educate the county on building equity in education, just let us invite them. They may be able to make it, they may not, but let us invite them and see if they can make a presentation to us on the 27th on building equity in education. Now, with that, that's the physical meeting. Together, we're going to have to write the physical plan, and I have some drafts ready of the physical plan, and we're going to have what's called kind of a writing camp, and I had to make a decision whether or not we can do that over WebEx or via. There's some issues over both programs that I just had to clarify, but once we do clarify, we can start doing the writing camps, and we'll be a Zoom meeting for probably an hour. I keep using the word Zoom, that's a different product, but it'll be via our WebEx meeting for about an hour as we go over track changes, and that way I can record it, and that way it can comply to any future records requests and things like that.
Okay.
So that's pretty much all I have, and I'm willing to take questions if any of the commissioners have some.
Okay, hearing none, and I won't be in chambers on the 27th. I will be coming in. I'm in Kansas City, so I'll be coming in online. But thank you. There's one last thing I'd like to do before we adjourn, and I can send this to Jay, I guess, to put in the record. So there was a report this week of a flyer that was placed, and I don't know on how many front doors or in mailboxes for the city of Clayton. And obviously the county sits within the city of Clayton, county office. That was written to the Clayton School District saying, Clayton School District is teaching critical race theory. It's for lack of anything better, I can't really show you. It's just literally it's a two-color flyer. Critical race theory divides Americans into oppressors and oppressed based on identity categories like skin color. Critical race theory teaches children they are defined by their race and demographic factors. Critical race theory is racist and promotes racism through active discrimination. And it goes on down the line, and then it says, basically, you can opt out of objectionable classes, speak out at board meetings, support school choice initiatives, connect with advocacy groups, find like-minded people. I think it's nasty and obnoxious and uneducated. I've contacted people in the school district to talk to them about how they're going to respond, but I want to just make it a formal part of the record today so that we take note that it's happening. Obviously, the issues around critical race theory and approaches by some in the General Assembly to demonize it for other political purposes is unfortunate, and that's speaking mildly. And so I think whenever we can have some information about this, maybe by the next meeting, to find out how the school district might respond, and just kind of be aware amongst ourselves that continuing attacks on something that people keep insisting is something it is not which is bad grammar on so many levels, but it is Friday morning, so there you are, is something we need to just keep in mind and keep on the table. Does anybody have any, had anybody received this or heard from anybody in their neck of the woods that somebody they knew received this flyer? No? Okay, I'll send a screenshot to Jay so that you can add it into the record in some way and do it that way. And we'll see what we find out and follow up. Anything else that has to be raised? Again, welcoming our new acting commissioners who are, when do they officially get sworn in?
That process is up to the county council at this point. They will receive their oaths of office after the county council has approved their appointments.
Okay, hopefully that will be soon because we look forward to fully having them fully on board. Thank y'all. Otherwise, Kenny, Ms. Person, thank you. Oh yeah, Matt, thanks. Sorry about all the IT stuff you had to deal with. And yes, Jay.
I just wanted to remind the commissioners that with the new language that was passed for the Human Relations Commission, the commission is expected to turn over an annual report to the county council and the county executive's office by March 1st. So we may want to start thinking about how that is going to look so that we can be prepared to submit that annual report.
Sounds good. Thanks for the reminder. I think it's March 1, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. Okay, anything, hearing nothing else, wishing everybody a safe, wait, is there something in the chat I should pay attention to? Oh, okay, great. Hearing nothing else, motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Thanking the secretary, Commissioner Ahmad. Second.
Second.
11:16 by my laptop. I hope y'all have a good, safe, restful weekend, and we'll be talking soon. Thanks, everybody.